So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to some more Detroit Lions talk. This will be the last Detroit Lions talk before the preseason begins, and this will be the last live stream before the Detroit Lions' first preseason games versus the Buffalo Bills in just over a week. So with that being the case, we are going to be getting into talking about some Lions football. And of course, as always, as people begin to roll in, as just a way to open the stream, just have some fun opening the stream, today's talking point is going to be my biggest takeaways from the scrimmage at Ford Field. Now, yes, I did a video on this, but there are a couple other points that I didn't get to quite talk about. There are a couple of points I didn't quite touch on. Obviously, Goff and the DBs we talked about. We talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit, but I want to expand on those points and then really talk about a couple of other players that I thought really had some very positive days, and I thought players that just showed some real flashes, showed some really, really good things, and players that got me very excited to see what they're going to do against Buffalo, against Pittsburgh, against Indianapolis, and eventually throughout the entirety of the 2021 season. So today I'm going to obviously get into that. First, we're going to start off with Jared Goff's connections, the connection that he had with the wide receivers, and overall how he played during the scrimmage, because I genuinely think that this offense and this team is going to go as far as Jared Goff is going to be able to take them. Now, Headers House 710 is in the building, says, let's get it. How you doing today? Good to see you. Good to see you. Charles Davis is in here, says, hi, all. How you doing? We got 7 people already in the build, and in the stream. That is incredible. That is a pretty good turnout to begin the stream. That is maybe not best ever, but that's really solid to begin the stream just 2 minutes in. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being on time and coming to talk some Lions football. Now, as I said, we're going to start off with Jared Goff, his play, how he played throughout the scrimmage, how well he looked, his connection with the wide receivers, his connection especially with TJ Hawkinson being a big focal point of today. You know, overall, I thought Jared Goff played really, really well. I thought Jared Goff was a player that, just seemed to have that connection, had it, just seemed to always find TJ Hawkinson, always find the right player. He started off incredibly strong. I believe was perfect on the first drive, went 5 for 5 on a touchdown drive, about 6 yards out. They had a rollout. There was a little bit of pressure off the that would have been the right side of the offensive line. So a little bit of pressure there. Jared Goff rolled out, got himself some time, bought himself some time, made a really nice throw on the run. Wasn't super hard, wasn't a super difficult throw, but at the end of the day, he made a really solid throw, made a really good decision, extended the play when he needed to, showed his mobility. And, on a scramble drill, found TJ Hawkinson in the back of the end zone for a really easy conversion and a really easy 7 points. And I think that's how the Lions need to schedule their offense. That's how they need to structure their offense. Make it easy. Get Jared Goff moving a little bit. Make the decision easy. Split the field in half. Give him a really open, really easy read to TJ Hawkinson where he extends the play. He gets out. He finds an easy TJ in the back of the end zone. That's the kind of offense I want to see the Lions run. That's the kind of offense that they kind of had at the scrimmage. Now, granted, obviously they had some limitations. TJ Hawkinson was obviously on the field. Some of the other wide receivers were there, but Tyrell Williams wasn't there. Brashad Perryman wasn't there. Quintus Cephas was not on the field. There were a lot of players and a lot of pass catchers, especially, that weren't quite there. And I think that very much limited the offense, especially early in the training and early in the scrimmage. But at the end of the day, the Lions adapted. They were still able to be efficient. And obviously with the scrimmage being, not super heavy contact, the defense wasn't obviously going all out to hit players or to be super mean or aggressive. The pass rush wasn't 100% out to get Jared Goff and actually hit him. Obviously taking all of this with a grain of salt because of that. But at the end of the day, the offense adapted. The offense was efficient. They were slow and methodical like we thought they were going to be. But Jared Goff at the end of the day, ran an efficient offense. He found TJ in the back of the end zone on the first drive. He had a second drive. On his second drive of the day, he drove down the field, again, kind of without TJ Hockenson on the field for a majority of that. He came in the red zone, took away, I believe it was actually double teamed on the play that he scored on. It was doubled between Jamie Collins and Will Harris. Then obviously that opens up an opportunity for other guys. And in that opportunity, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a really good slant route on the inside out of the slot wide receiver position, and he got a really good release off of Mike Ford. Mike Ford was actually in really good coverage, but Jared Goff just had a really good, real solid, easy read to make, but made a really good throw on the inside, gave Amon-Ra St. Brown a chance to catch it, and he made the most of his opportunity. He caught it, got into the end zone, and scored a touchdown for the Detroit Lions' second touchdown of the day. And then again, Jared Goff on a third drive, on his final drive of the day, in a 2-minute drill, in an opportunity to go down, kind of play a little more up tempo, get a little more pass heavy, get a little bit more down the field passing action going. Jared Goff once again led a very methodical, not slow. They did have a couple bigger plays. I know TJ especially had a really nice play in the middle of the field in that 2-minute drill, so he looked really good there as well. They kind of drove down the field. There wasn't a 50-yard bomb, but they had a couple nice plays of 15, 20 yards to move down the field. And at the end of the day, about 10, 12 yards out, TJ Hockenson and Jared Goff connected yet again. Jared Goff looked for a deep pass down the boundary, I believe to Tom Kennedy, number 85, and he didn't quite hit him. It was pass interference on the play, which got them down to the 1. They had a couple plays and eventually got back into the end zone. That was the only throw that I felt Jared Goff really missed on the day, was that deep shot on the boundary to Tom Kennedy. At the same time, I think part of that is on Tom Kennedy. Part of that is he didn't quite adjust the ball properly. Part of that was there was interference from the defender. So other than that one throw, I thought Jared Goff looked incredibly accurate. He looked really good, was very accurate, was very on top of it, looked very calm, very poised in the pocket, didn't get pressured a lot. Obviously, again, there were, obviously that circumstance of they're not going to hit you. The defensive lineman, the pass rush isn't actually out to get you. So that's going to make things a little easier. But at the end of the day, Jared Goff looked comfortable. He was clean. He was decisive. And at the end of the day, he was just a very efficient and very good quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And if he plays like that in the regular season, the Detroit Lions will be a tough team to beat. If Jared Goff can just play that brand of football, play quick, play decisive, don't second guess himself, don't make the reads too difficult, give him easy, quick reads, give him stuff short, intermediate passes, 1 or 2 deep shots here and there, a couple deep shots a game, give him an opportunity to air the ball out down the field and give his wide receiver a chance. If it's that kind of game plan like we saw in the scrimmage, then I think the Detroit Lions offense can be a very efficient and very good one this year. Now, this comment says, how did Marvin Jones and Kerryon Johnson look? Neither of them were obviously on the field for the Lions because they weren't there. And as much as I would have liked to, I did not have the funds nor the means nor the time to fly down to Jacksonville or out to Philadelphia to go watch those games. So I don't know how they looked, but they did not look like anything for the Detroit Lions. So, there's always that. Let's see. The second point I want to talk about, the DBs. I thought the DBs actually looked really good. As much success as Jared Goff had, the other quarterbacks really didn't with the same wide receiving core in the same group. The offensive line was different for the second team, but the wide receivers and the weapons were pretty much the same, obviously with the depleted weaponry, obviously with the depleted arsenal, without Cephas, without Williams, without Perryman, without some of their wide receivers, especially some of their bigger name wide receivers. There were a lot more opportunities for guys like Tom Kennedy, for guys like Sage Surratt, who I thought was really solid. Guys like, again, Victor Bolden, who made a couple good plays. Guys like Elise Mack had a couple good plays here and there. And a lot of players looked good with the first team offense, and Jared Goff had everything working very smoothly. But even when Jared Goff was on the field, there were some plays being made, but especially when Tim Boyle or when I'm thinking of his name. It's the third string quarterback. That would be David Blau. Especially when David Blau and Tim Boyle were on the field, they weren't the same offense, right? The DBs seemed a little more confident. Obviously, the ball didn't move quite the same. Tim Boyle does have a really good arm. He does have really good arm strength and some solid accuracy. But when the backups were in, when the second team offense was in, and even especially the second team defense, the secondary looked really solid. They got their hands on the football. I know Melifonwu had a good pass breakup. I know that Mike Ford had a really good pass breakup. Jalen Elliott, the second-year safety out of Notre Dame, had a couple nice plays in the air. I'm trying to think. Jeff Okudah played really, really well. He didn't get tested a whole lot, but he was really solid in coverage. Got tested one time for an incompletion on the sideline. He looked really solid. I mean, all the DBs looked really good. They were kind of thriving and growing together. The safeties weren't tested as much. Again, it was not very heavy as far as downfield passing, so the safeties weren't tested very much, so we didn't get to see a lot of Tracy Walker or Will Harris as those two high safeties. I keep saying Deshaun Elliott. That would be a safety for the Ravens, but Jalen Elliott, our, I guess, now second string safety, or at least was playing for the second team. He looked really solid in the air. He was really the only safety that got tested, but he looked really good. And all around, I thought every DB looked really solid. I didn't think any of them were really out of position. I know A.J. Parker, the undrafted free agent out of Kansas State, looked really solid. He got tested a couple times, gave up a couple of catches, but was really tight and contested in coverage. So, yeah, he got beat, but he was not very – I mean, he wasn't beat on the play. He just, ended up getting boxed out a little bit, which is something we knew he could, was something we knew was a possibility, was he might get boxed out. Something might happen to him. And just overall, him not being the biggest guy, that's going to happen sometimes. But he was in good coverage on Sage Stroud a couple times. They threw his way a lot. He got tested, I think, 3 or 4 times in the scrimmage and gave up, I think, 2 or 3 catches. But at the end of the day, he wasn't in bad coverage or bad placement. It just happened that Sage Stroud did have a really solid day against a little bit undersized cornerback in A.J. Parker. But overall, I mean, pretty much almost every DB had a pass breakup. Amani wasn't tested, I don't think, one time. Mike Ford was tested a couple times, gave up a touchdown, but again, had a pass defended or two, had 2 pass breakups. Jeff Okudah was tested once with Sage Surratt, didn't give up a pass, was really tightly covered the whole time. There was very little chance of that being completed. Melifano had a good pass breakup. He had a couple good ones. There was one instance where Melifano had a miscommunication on the field and they called a timeout. That was the only real negative from the secondary, but that's going to happen in training camp. That'll probably happen once or twice in the preseason. So, I mean, overall, I thought the secondary played very well, especially considering the offense wasn't super pass heavy and wasn't giving them a ton of opportunities to make a lot of plays. They looked in the rear view mirror. I don't know what that means, but sure. Do you think Darrell Bevell will thrive with Goff? Darrell Bevell is not our offensive coordinator anymore. What's up, 1Pride40? How you doing today? Good to see you in the stream. One of our favorites here. Tony's back. He's a fan favorite around here. Is Goff throwing the long ball? Jared Goff did not throw a lot of deep balls in the scrimmage. From what I saw, there was only one deep ball, and that was to Tom Kennedy on the 2-minute drill. The ball wasn't poorly placed necessarily. It was kind of an outside ball. It was a ball that Jared Goff was going to either be complete to Tom Kennedy or it was going to hit the dirt. It was going to hit the turf. And just by chance, it ended up not being completed. It wasn't a horrible throw by Jared Goff. He definitely overthrew it a little bit to the boundary, but at the same time, it was one of those balls where it was like, my guy's going to get it or nobody's going to get it. And the DB was tightly pressed. There was a little bit of interference. I think there was a little bit of swaying. There was a little bit of Tom Kennedy kind of came off his route just a little bit, which I think threw Jared Goff for a loop. Partially some of that is going to be that Tom Kennedy and Jared Goff likely don't work together very often. They don't get a lot of time together on the field. And then at the same time, just at the end of the day, it is preseason still. They haven't even played a preseason game. So there's going to be just a little bit of rust, to knock off. So in the scrimmage, they weren't super pass heavy. In the scrimmage, there wasn't a lot of deep balls being thrown, especially by Jared Goff. Tim Boyle had a couple, David Blau had one, and Jared Goff had one. But I have heard that in training camp, when they have worked on the deep ball and they've gone like 7-on-7 stuff like that Jared Goff's deep ball has actually been really, really solid. That especially his deep ball on the boundary has been really good. He's had really good placement and has just been giving his wide receivers a lot of opportunity on the boundary when he's been throwing those long balls. So, that's kind of where it is right now as far as I know. Jared Goff is throwing the long ball well, but he didn't do it a lot in the scrimmage. 1Pride40 says, anything on Alim McNeill? 1 second, I'm just going to put this up here real quick. Alim McNeill, I didn't see a lot of Alim McNeill during the scrimmage. I don't know if he was active or not. He didn't really stand out. Not a lot of defensive linemen stood out outside of Romeo Okwara. He was really the only guy that I saw that was like really popping off. That was a guy that just, caught my attention over and over and over again. Romeo Okwara is the only guy on the defensive line that really did that. And Alim McNeill didn't really get a chance in the scrimmage to be all that disruptive of a player. Obviously, in the scrimmage, they're not going to go all out. They're not going to, send their best players out necessarily. They're not going to, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. They're not going to be as aggressive and as violent as defensive linemen as they could be, with obviously they don't want to hurt anybody. Obviously, they don't want anything to go wrong or anything like that. So with that being said, Alim McNeill didn't really pop off at the scrimmage, didn't really show out at the scrimmage, but from, again, what I have heard, kind of in a similar vein to Jared Goff's deep ball, in the actual scrimmage or in the actual training camp, he has been incredibly disruptive, and he has been a guy that has been causing a lot of headaches for people. And even against guys like Frank Ragnow, he's been giving him a little bit of trouble. Not that he's beating Frank Ragnow, but he's giving Frank Ragnow a little bit of a run for his money, which is really solid. No, that he's a headache against Ragnow. Yeah, exactly. Like I just said, he isn't beating Ragnow consistently. I don't know if he's beating Ragnow at all, but at the same time, he is giving Ragnow a headache. He is giving him a little bit of trouble, which against one of the best centers in the NFL, that is saying something, right? I mean, it would be one thing if it was like, oh, he's beating an average center. If the Lions had a below average starter at the center position, then you could be like, okay, it is what it is. But against Frank Ragnow, one of the best players, one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, and arguably the best center in the NFL, the fact that he's giving Frank Ragnow some headache and giving him some trouble is really encouraging to me. And he's a guy that I've been looking for a lot. He's a guy that consistently gets talked about and, just brought up in points over and over and over again. So he wasn't really a big impact player in the scrimmage, but he was a big impact player in training camp. And then when I go to training camp, I will actually be there on the 10th. I'll be there on Tuesday. When I go, I will make sure to keep an eye out for Alim McNeill and a lot of the rookies, because those are guys that I'm really trying to get a good vision on, if that makes sense. Well, that's a buzzkill. I was getting hype about our defense. Our defense was looking pretty solid, to be totally honest. Overall, I thought everybody looked good. It was, and even the success that the offense had, I don't think it was because it was a poor defensive showing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, the offense was playing well. They were just clean. They were efficient, but the defense was very rarely beat. The defense was very rarely out of place. On the first touchdown, the first Jared Goff to TJ Hawkins touchdown, like, there was pressure on the quarterback, and Jared Goff just happened to get out of the pocket. There was a slight breakdown in coverage, but overall, it wasn't like a completely broken play where the defense looked horrible. The defense made a play. They beat the offensive line on that play, and Jared Goff just made a better play on the Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown. Will Harris was within inches of batting that ball away. It just happened to sneak by his fingertips. It wasn't a bad play by the defense. Mike Ford was in close competition. Mike Ford was right behind him in trail, was even had contact. That scared my phone buzzing. That scared me. But, even on the Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, you have Mike Ford in a trailing position, but he still had contact on Amon-Ra St. Brown, still had pretty solid positioning on him. Will Harris was inches away from getting the ball. It wasn't a bad defensive play so much as a really good offensive play. And then, the third touchdown was, again, just kind of a really good offensive play. And a lot of the defense, even the yards that they gave up and even the plays that they did give up, was more because the offense played well, more so than the defense played poorly, which, again, is a very, very encouraging thing to see. Do you think the starters will be very limited against the Bills? I don't know. If I had to guess, I think Jared Goff plays a little bit. I don't know if he plays a full quarter, but I bet Jared Goff gets a drive or two. Obviously being new to this system, with everybody being new to this system, I would think the starters play maybe a little bit more against the Bills than maybe we've seen in years past, because obviously in the preseason with, offense that we've seen before, Matt Stafford doesn't need to be in. Kerryon Johnson doesn't need to be in. DeAndre Swift doesn't need to be in. Kenny Golladay doesn't need to be in. They know the system. They know the playbook last year, and that was the situation. Like, they knew what they were doing. We knew exactly what we were getting out of them. We didn't need to see them in the preseason, but now with Jared Goff being new, with Anthony Lynn being new, with all of these players, with all of these guys still needing to grow and build this chemistry, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of our players and a lot of our starters at least start against the Bills and get a drive or two before being shut down. Now, with that being said, I would expect Frank Ragnow not to play a lot. I would expect Taylor Decker not to play a lot. I would expect DeAndre Swift not to play a lot. And I would expect TJ Hawkinson not to play a lot. But other than that, I would expect Jared Goff to be on the field. I will expect, Penei Sewell to be on the field. Like, all of our rookies should be playing a lot. All of our second team should be playing a lot. Our wide receivers especially should get a lot of time and a lot of touches. Jamal Williams probably likely will not get a lot of touches in the first game, but you got guys like Jamar Jefferson, who we will get to, who looked really solid. He's going to get a lot of touches. So I think some of our starters will, especially the quarterback and the wide receivers. I think we'll get a lot of time early just to really build that chemistry in a true game situation. But I would expect a lot of our top end starters like Ragnow, like Decker, and probably like DeAndre Swift not to play the entire game. On the defense, think like Romeo Okwara probably won't play. Trey Flowers probably won't play a significant amount. Michael Brockers probably won't be in a ton. But I would expect some of our starters to be in a little bit for sure. If Alim is giving Rags problems, imagine what he'll do in the division. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to think about the disruption that Alim McNeill is going to cause to whoever the Vikings have starting at center. I don't know their center exactly. I know the Packers just lost their all-pro center. Whoever they're replacing him with is going to have to watch out for Alim. And then the Bears don't have a great offensive line anyway. Their center especially is not the strong point of their offensive line, so they're going to have to watch out. But I think Alim McNeill is going to be a problem for a lot of people. Talk about stiff arms. Lions need this. Yeah. So don't expect Matt Patricia disaster next year. Got it. Pretty much don't expect Matt Patricia's disaster. I actually think Aaron Glenn is getting this defense. Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator, from everything I saw, I'm very impressed already. From just the defense that they run and how tight the coverage actually was, I'm incredibly impressed with what I've seen so far. How did Sewell look? Sewell looked really good. He didn't really go up against a lot of competition. Romeo wasn't on the field a ton. When he was on the field, I felt like Romeo Okwara and Penei Sewell didn't really go up against a lot against each other in the scrimmage. Either one was on the field or the other one was, but very rarely did they go up against one-on-one, or at least from what I saw. There is a lot to watch in the scrimmage, so there's very much a possibility that I missed some one-on-ones between the two. But from what I saw, Penei Sewell looked really good. They didn't give up a single pressure, I don't believe. Maybe he gave up a pressure on the first touchdown, but that was more because Jared Goff started rolling out, and just that angle would have been really impossible to block for Sewell. But Penei Sewell, for everything I saw, looked really, really solid. I didn't see him give up a lot of pressures. He looks fine. I mean, looks big and strong like we expected him to be. Looked really solid in pass protection. Had very few problems. I'm not concerned about Penei Sewell very much at all. I heard there were kicking problems. There were some kicking problems. That was the one negative I took away from the day. I don't know what to think about the kickers. Randy Bullock wasn't even particularly bad. I believe the field goal that he missed was 50 yards or 54 yards or something like that. One missed 54 and the other missed 50. So it's not like they were easy kicks to make, but they were kicks that are going to need to be made in the NFL season, especially if the Lions continue to play close games. If these games are going to be one score games, 3 7-point games, you're going to need to make those field goals regardless of if they're 10 yards or 50 yards out. So the kicking, yes, I would say was a little bit of a problem. They both missed field goals, but at the same time, they both made a lot of field goals, and I thought they weren't horrible. They concern me a little bit, but at the same time, just like everybody else, it is preseason. They do still have a month before the NFL season actually begins. So I'm not stressing about it too much, although I think it is something that if it continues is going to be not a great outlook for the Lions. Let's talk about the Vinda Saints. I didn't even know about that. Lol, DD trolling, talking about players who did not have the grit Campbell was looking for. I mean, yes and no. I mean, he talked about Matt Prater, talking about Miles Killebrew. Kenny Golladay just didn't want to be here. Desmond Trufant isn't. I mean, obviously all of these players aren't here anymore. I mean, some of them just didn't want to be here. Some of them wanted to go elsewhere. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much necessarily. I mean, he's doing what he's doing. Miles Killebrew is getting all of the playing time. He actually played every position and every snap of the entire scrimmage. He was the only guy on the field. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Seeing the new wide receiver on the team, do you think we need to bring in another wide receiver? I do not. Personally, the thing about this, right, is a lot of our wide receivers weren't actually on the field. Like I mentioned this before, Cephas, Williams, Perryman weren't playing, so I didn't get to actually see them. But I thought our wide receivers played well enough to give me enough confidence. Like, they weren't winning like triple coverage, right? They weren't doing their best Calvin Johnson impression and mossing 3 defenders in the end zone. It wasn't like that kind of dominance from our wide receivers, but they ran good routes. They created enough separation. They had solid hands, very few drops. Victor Bolden had a really nice diving catch. Amon-Ra St. Brown ran really good routes and created separation, had a really tough touchdown catch. All of our wide receivers just played well. They didn't need to be extraordinary. They didn't need to moss 3 guys. They ran their routes. They did their jobs. And even without our, arguably best 3 wide receivers on the field, or at least, our best 2 wide receivers, I would say Cephas and Williams are our 2 best wide receivers right now, with Amon-Ra coming in real close. I would say that they did their job well enough to give me confidence. Now, are we going to see a guy go out and moss people? Are we going to see a Calvin Johnson performance of 1,900 yards and break a record in 17 games? We're not. But at the same time, I don't think that's what the Lions need right now. The wide receivers played well enough. The wide receivers, they did their job. That's all I can ask of them, right? At the end of the day, if the wide receivers are doing their job effectively, there's not a whole lot to complain about. And that's the exact job that they did. Our first game is on Friday. I know our first game is in 5 days, and I'm super excited for it. Amon-Ra has been going nuts. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a phenomenal rookie. I'm so happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that I got the opportunity to draft him. Like, I still say that out loud, and I think that's the craziest thing, but I have the card over there to prove it. I announced this guy's entry to the NFL, and I could not be more excited for all of the success that he's going to have and all the success that he's going to find, because I will tell you right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a special player. Like, from what I saw on the field, from the limited snaps that he saw, the limited touches that he got during warm-ups, during walkthroughs, during anything, every time he got the ball in his hands, he was electric. He was just a fun player to watch. This guy is going to be special. So at the moment, I'm counting 3 guaranteed starters in our rookie class. Penei Sewell is a starter. I would guess that I don't know if Levi's going to start day 1, but I think eventually he will be. But I would say day 1, probably not Levi. Alim McNeill, I would bet you, starts on the defensive line day 1. Amon-Ra St. Brown starts day 1. So that is 3. I would guess that Ifeatu Melifonwu, I always say it wrong because Ifeatu is just easy. I would guess Iffy, that's what I'm going to call him. I would guess Melifonwu gets playing time, but I don't think he starts immediately. Amon-Ra starts. I think I already said that, though. Derek Barnes, I think, actually does start as well. He was with the first-team offense. He wasn't in pads, but he was going through walkthroughs with them with the first-team offense. I think he starts. I think that's our 4th starter from our rookie class. And then I think Jermar Jefferson gets a decent amount of touches, although he obviously doesn't start the game. Denzel Mims, former second-round pick from the Jets 2019, will be up for trade. I would get him. Depending on the value, I would be okay with that. Depending on the value, I would be absolutely okay with getting Denzel Mims. I wouldn't give up, I don't think I'd give up a second-round pick, but if they're asking for, a middle of the pack, like late day 2, early day 3 pick, I'd be totally fine trading for Denzel Mims because he does absolutely have some talent. He's a player that I was really looking for when he was drafted, and if they end up trading for Mims, that's great. But I believe one part had 40 touchdown it down here. He did, saying that the Jets might even cut him. Like, there are talks that he might get cut, which is crazy to me. But if he gets cut and we can pick him up for free, that's even better. But, depending on the value, I would absolutely be open to trading for Denzel Mims. People seem to forget that we have Swift and Williams as receivers. Yeah, we do. Swift didn't play at all. I believe Swift was actually benched. He did walkthroughs and stuff like that, but didn't actually play in the scrimmage. So I think he's actually dealing with a small injury, but nothing to be super concerned about. I don't remember the exact injury, but it was something small. It was not anything to be concerned about. If it was game day, he'd be playing. Is basically what it is. Man, it's Cade coming, and I don't watch basketball, but I'm gonna get into basketball. Trust me. I will get into basketball. I will get into Pistons eventually, but I have to learn about the game. I have to learn about the team first before I'm going to make any comments. But from everything that I've seen, the Pistons have quite the future ahead of them. I heard they might cut Mims. If they cut Mims, I'd be shocked. I genuinely would be very surprised that they cut Mims. But at the same time, I don't think he necessarily fits what they want anymore. For me at least, it seems like they have their number 1 in Corey Davis. Elijah Moore is playing very, very well. I don't know how Denzel Mims is playing, but Denzel Mims, I just feel like isn't the fastest guy, and I feel like that's what Robert Saleh is trying to install is like some speed on that offense. And I just don't know if Mims fits the system that they're trying to run. I would be personally shocked if Mims gets cut, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mims comes up on the trade block because I think they have a lot of confidence in Elijah Moore, and they have a ton of confidence in Corey Davis, obviously giving him a lot of money. What's up? Who's in here? James Willis, what's up? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you in here. Good to see you. Swift Williams out of the backfield receivers, not good enough. DeAndre Swift might be good enough. Derek Barnes is not starting. I think he does start, actually. I think he does start some games. Maybe not day one, but don't be shocked if Derek Barnes starts day one. That's all I'm saying. I'm so hyped for football. I'm so excited for football. Sam the man, greetings. How you doing today? Good to see you in the stream. Good to see you. Antonio Jenkins is in the stream. How you doing? Good to see you. Sam the man says 28 people watching. Thank you all for being here. This is one of our better turnouts in a while, man. I'm excited. Football is back. I can feel it. I can feel the energy coming through the screen. I can just feel the excitement around this team. I'm so excited for it, man. In 5 more days, and the Detroit Lions will be back on the field playing some football. If the Jets cut Mims, I feel that's a massive black mark for Saleh's staff. Yeah, it's going to be a weird one. I don't think he gets cut. Like I said, I don't think Mims gets cut. I think he stays on the team. I think he's a good enough wide receiver to stick. But if he gets cut, one, I'm going to question Mims before I question Saleh, but I'm still going to be a little hesitant. I'm going to be kind of, cautious about, like, why did they cut this guy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be a very awkward situation. The wide receivers will show up. I believe so. 1.40, it's not Saleh and his staff didn't draft him. That's true as well. He's not a guy that they drafted, which I think could also play into that narrative of they might cut him because he's not one of their guys. And again, that kind of goes with what I was saying. Like, he doesn't fit their scheme, doesn't fit their vision, fine, whatever. He's not one of their guys, which could be the big reason he gets cut. But again, like, if he gets cut and I'm the Detroit Lions, like, I'm signing him without a second thought because at the very least, I think Denzel Mims could beat out Geronimo Allison. I think he could beat out Chase Hansen, who they brought in. He can realistically beat out at least 2 or 3 wide receivers on the roster right now. And even if he doesn't end up making the final 53, say we get him in here for the last preseason game, at the end of the day, it's more competition, it's more depth, and it's more talent. So at the end of the day, even if he gets cut, I'd be more than willing to sign him, regardless of for whatever reason he got cut, unless it's injury, of course. A long time between the 53 cut down and the first regular season game. How many players do we add to the roster during that time? I have no idea. I don't even have I don't have a guess for you. They're cycling through players relatively quickly. I know PJ Johnson just got added to the roster and Nick Williams just got put on COVID. Depending on all that, depending on injuries, like we could genuinely see nobody. We could see the Lions go into the preseason rocking the exact roster they have right now, or we could see, 5 moves a week. Like, there's such a wide range, and I genuinely have no idea how to even gauge the number that might reach. 32 people in the stream. That's a good turnout. That's a lot of people. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for showing up. No, it wouldn't, because it would show he doesn't know how to elevate a team. What are we going back to? I don't know what that comment is in reference of. Probably something about Robert Saleh. Oh, I said elevate. I read that wrong. That would be evaluate a team, which then your comment makes way more sense. One Pride 40, and if I could just learn how to read, I might get a little farther in life. I don't know. I don't know if it's so much that he wouldn't evaluate him right, or we'll cross the bridge when it comes to it. That's all I'm going to say. Lions will do better than people think. They win 6 to 8 games. That's the exact range that I'm at. I'm 7 to 8 games, but I'm right there with you. I think 6 to 8, 7 to 8 wins, maybe 9 wins if everything goes like really well and everything's ahead of schedule. But yeah, I think the Lions are going to be One, they're going to be very tough out this season. They're going to be a team that is just very difficult to beat, very, very tough to knock out of games. And at the end of the day, that's going to come back to bite teams. At the end of the day, when you can't put a team away for 4 quarters, when that team just sticks around and sticks around and sticks around, that's when you see upsets happen. That's when you see the biggest comebacks happen, is when, that team just can't put them away. Like, the Lions might trail for 3 quarters, but they're going to be trailing by 3 points, 7 points. And in the fourth quarter, they're going to be right there in the fight each and every game. And I think that's going to lead to a lot of close victories. And I think that's going to lead to the Lions actually being a much more competitive and a much better team win-wise than most people are expecting them to be. DD Boom Boom says a long time, like 20 days. I think the Lions actually have a full month before the actual first game of the season, because they have obviously 3 preseason games, which is 3 weeks. And then I think they have a week or 2 between the last preseason game and the actual start of the regular season. So I think they do have like a month or so. They do have like 30-something days. But that, in the grand scheme of things, 30 days is not that long to wait. Now, would you go after James Washington? I would go after James Washington for like a 6th or a 7th round pick. I wouldn't give up anything more than that. He might not even make the roster, so he's a guy that might actually end up getting cut. And if he's cut, if he's a free agent, I would absolutely go after him. If he is a guy that doesn't end up on the Steelers' active roster this year, he's a guy that I would get. He was a guy that I would pick up because he's fast, he's a playmaker, he has some suspect hands at times, but when the ball is actually in his hands, he is a playmaker and he is dynamic, and he would just add play, he'd add speed, he would add big playability to this offense, and he, I think, actually fits what the Lions are trying to get more so than Denzel Mims, even though I might end up taking Denzel Mims, in my personal opinion, over James Washington. DB will be starting by season's end. DB. I don't know. Who's that? DB. Oh, Derek Barnes, obviously. I think Derek Barnes starts by the end of the season for sure. I think you could actually see almost all of our rookies, with the exception of Melifonwu and Jefferson. With the exception of those 2, you could absolutely see Penei Sewell, Levi Onwuzurike, Alim McNeill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Derek Barnes. You could see all 5 of them starting by the end of the season. I think that's a very realistic thing to happen. 1/40, so Dan Campbell cutting Patricia bums, no different. Coaches want their guys. Yes and no. The guys that Dan Campbell cut were actually genuinely not that good of players, and they were older players with a lot of cap space and a high cap hit. I think the situation is different. If Dan Campbell came in and cut a second-year wide receiver that was just, we just use a second-round pick on, I would be very questioning of his ability to evaluate a player. Whereas, like, you look at Desmond Trufant being cut, you look at Danny Shelton, you look at, Chris Jones, those are older guys, those are veterans, those are guys that are eating up cap space, those are guys that can be replaced, those are guys that you didn't spend high capital on, you didn't spend high draft picks on. The situation is a little different. James Washington over Perryman, absolutely. That would be a battle. I think Perryman's a little faster, but I think James Washington, 1, is a little healthier, and 2, I think is a little bit more dynamic in the open field. But that would be a really good battle to see. That'd be a really fun battle to watch. I was more thinking James Washington versus Victor Bolden, but I think he could push Perryman for a spot as well. I've been since day 1. I appreciate it. I don't know if you've been with me or been with the Lions since day 1, but I know you've been here for a long time for me. So just in general for that, I appreciate it. Brashad may make a few plays, but I just can't trust him. I'm hoping Javon McKinley or somebody steps up. I agree with you. I think that Brashad Perryman is going to make a couple of plays, but I don't think he's going to be like a true number 1 wide receiver. I don't even think he's a true starting wide receiver. But at the same time, like you said, you hope that Javon McKinley steps up. I know Amon-Ra is going to step up. I'm pretty sure, and I'm very confident saying that Quintez Cephas is going to step up this season. I think that Tyrell Williams is still going to be a good player this season for the Lions. But I'm absolutely with you that I don't think that they're going to rely on Brashad Perryman a whole lot this season. I think he's going to be, and I've mentioned this before, I think he's going to be a very Marvin Hall kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like 2-3 targets a game. And if he catches the ball, it's going to be a big play. But, if he doesn't, then he doesn't. Like, it is what it is. When the Browns make cuts, that's where we need to be looking. They're so loaded, they cut some good players. That's true. I I mean, I think that's true for a lot of teams. I think that's true for like Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, I think is possible with that. Again, with like James Washington. I think there are going to be players around the league that are cut for almost every team that the Lions could look to pick up. That's just, the name of the game. Like when somebody loses a player, the Lions are going to be looking at it. But again, like you said, the Browns, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers are all teams that I think the Lions should keep an eye on, especially when roster cut downs eventually happen. Hawk, Cephas, and St. Brown will move the chains. I agree. I actually think that's a pretty solid 1, 2, 3 right there as far as receiving options. Some people don't agree, but I like that trio. I truly do. And Tyrell Williams on top of that just makes it a little bit sweeter. Do the Lions side Todd Gurley? I don't think so. And I don't think they do because of simply how good Jermar Jefferson has been. And I understand that I've only seen Jermar Jefferson have a couple of solid carries, and I know that they've only been a few, and I didn't see him get like 20, 30 carries. I haven't seen him for a whole practice or even in a game yet. But from what I have seen in the small sample size that I saw, Jermar Jefferson is a very good running back. And not only that, he's a very cheap running back. So with that being said, I don't think they need Gurley because I think Jermar Jefferson is more than enough to take on that running back 3 role. And I think he'll actually be more efficient in the touches than Todd Gurley would be with the same amount of touches. I agree, Pontiac. I don't think he would cost much. I don't think so either. James Washington, he would not cost very much. Robert Saleh wants his own players. Mostly, I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with that except for the fact that they literally just spent a second-round pick on Denzel Mims. So if that were the case, I would be slightly concerned. But other than that, if he's cutting veterans, then I wouldn't question it. But if he cuts Denzel Mims, I would have a little bit of a problem with it. You have 12 likes. Hey, let's get those likes up. We have 30 people in here. If you're in the live stream and you have not liked the video yet, why haven't you done that? I mean, come on. I'm out here Sunday afternoon talking some Lions football, trying to give you the best possible content, and you're not going to like the video? Come on, guys. Let's get those likes up. Let's get those things going. Let's see. Derek Watson. Tired of saying this, but we need stiff arms, please. They might be coming. Jermar Jefferson hit somebody with a nasty stiff arm the other day. Oh, we don't need Todd Gurley. Jermar Jefferson has been looking impressive so far. I agree. And I just said this. I didn't even read this comment. One second. Somebody's being noisy. Go on. My apologies. But yeah, Jermar Jefferson, he looks so good. He has one thing I really noticed about him, his contact balance is elite. And I maybe I use the term elite a little loosely, but he has some just absolutely phenomenal contact balance. He does not go down after the first hit. He's a guy that just makes plays. He's a guy that doesn't go down easily. He's a guy that does not give up on runs. He's a guy that does not fall backwards. He always falls forward. And he's a guy that is just super, super impressive and a guy that very much stuck out to me even in the limited amount of carries he actually got. He's taking the 3rd spot. He absolutely is taking the 3rd spot. If Gurley was about to come here, he would be here in June. Yeah, if Gurley was going to be here, I think he'd be here already. Hot take, Alim McNeill is Fletcher Cox Jr. You're not even the first person I've heard make that comparison, but I like it. I think he's going to be very disruptive this year. And here's my hot take. Alim McNeill ends up on the short list for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now, I don't know if he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, but I think that Alim McNeill is on the short list for it. He may not win it, but I think he at least attends the ceremony because there's a chance he gets it. I think he is at least mentioned by the end of the year as one of the best defensive rookies from this class. Get them likes up, people. One pride. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, boys. Come on, let's get this likes going. One pride 40. How about he's Alim McNeill Sr.? Time to make his own identity. I like that. I like that a lot. Our best receiver will be St. Brown. That might end up being the case. If Washington's an upgrade over Perryman, I'd say yes, he is. I'd say overall, I would say I would prefer James Washington to Brashad Perryman. Personally, I would agree with that. Why does the halfback do stiff arms? Because they look sweet. Because they look awesome. I hope Jesse James balls out for us this year. Oh, he's back to the trolling. He's back to the trolling. When I watch Perryman, I just don't see him making our team. I see him making our team because I think he's the one guy in our offense that has like that true big play, like Tyreek Hill-esque big play element. Not that he's Tyreek Hill in any way, shape, or form, but to me, Brashad Perriman's the only guy on the roster, maybe outside of Khalif Raymond, that gives you that 50, 60, 80-yard touchdown potential. And that's why I think he makes the team, but doesn't get a lot of playing time. But I actually just thought of something, so I'll get back to that in a second. This guy infatuated with stiff arms. Hey, stiff arms are pretty dope. Stiff arms are pretty cool. I'm in Nashville. Khalif Raymond will be a pleasant surprise. He runs excellent deep routes and is a good pickup. This is a guy I actually think might dethrone Brashad Perriman. This is a guy that I think might end up taking Brashad Perriman's place because he looked good in the scrimmage. I don't know if he had any receptions or anything, but he ran good routes. He is a fast player. Like, he is deceptively fast. He's a very good kick and punt returner, which is why I think he makes the roster. And like you said, Charles, he runs very good routes. He gets really good separation, and with the speed, he makes plays everywhere that he is on the field. Kind of like James Washington, when the ball's in his hands, he's a guy that just makes plays and is a dynamic player. And because of that, I genuinely think he could snatch Brashad Perriman's spot from him as being that deep ball, deep route runner, big play kind of wide receiver. McNeill and Jefferson are steals in this year's draft. I agree. 100%. I agree with you. Melifon, I think almost everybody we got was phenomenal value. Surgeons will be busy this year replacing kneecaps from our competitors. Yeah, they better be stocking up on some new kneecaps because we're about to take a couple. A few weeks ago, you gave us a 53. Did you change it since then? I haven't really gone into depth with it. I haven't really gone into my list and looked at it. I couldn't even exactly remember who I said or what I had as the final roster or anything like that. That is a good question. It's a phenomenal question. And I think that I'm going to make another video on this. So I will get back to it. My first thought would be yes. I'm fairly certain that my thoughts have changed. I know my thoughts have changed on some of these players. I will get back to you on that, but yes, it has changed, but I don't know how significantly it will change. I will update with you probably within the week. I will get another video out like that because that is a phenomenal question. That was a good one. I didn't even think about that. I'm thinking I know why we didn't draft Cox or JOK. It's because we have Sean Deion Hamilton being a very good coverage linebacker. That is another player that has been very impressive. He's a guy that I don't actually know who signed him, because he was signed after Bob Quinn was fired, but before Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell were hired. So I don't actually know who signed him. Probably Sheila Ford Hamp, I would assume. But Sean Deion Hamilton's a guy that's been playing very well. He's a guy that I think actually has picked off a pass, or at least got his hands on the football a couple of times. But yeah, he's a player that overall, he's looking really solid in training camp, and he might be a reason that we passed on Jeremiah or the reason that we passed on Jabril Cox, or, it could just be that they valued other players higher. I don't know, but I do think Sean Deion Hamilton could be a reason that they weren't super pressed about getting a coverage linebacker in the NFL draft. I think that's very possible. I was going to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, but we kind of already mentioned him a lot. So I'll go over him really quickly. Amon-Ra St. Brown is good. He's a good player. He runs good routes, had a touchdown. That's all I got. He's a good player. He's going to be great. That's all I have for you. Romeo Okwara, the fourth player I want to talk about, or I guess fourth topic for today. Romeo did not play a ton in the scrimmage, which I was expecting. I didn't expect Romeo to play a ton, but when he was on the field, he played really, really good. And I don't know who he was up against. A lot of the time that Romeo was on the field, he was on the opposite side of the field. So, where I was sitting, the offense was going the opposite way of me. They were going away from me. And, Romeo was on the complete opposite side. So he would have been on the side of, I'm trying to visualize this. So that's the quarterback. He would have been on the right tackle when they were facing away from me. So I didn't really get to see who he was going up against a whole lot, but he was winning consistently. Romeo Okwara was a guy that I think he had 3 or 4 pressures in 5 or 6 snaps. He is the guy that He was unstoppable. I don't know who was blocking him. I don't believe it was Penei Sewell a majority of the time. I'm pretty sure it was mostly backups because I know a lot of his pressures came on Tim Boyle in the backup offensive line. But Romeo just killed it. Romeo was super, super good. I mean, Bob Quinn got his job by holding Andrew Berry's clipboard. Yeah, I mean, Bob Quinn actually just got hired. Did y'all see that? He got hired by the Cleveland Browns. I don't know the exact title that he got, but he got hired by the Browns, which I thought was really funny. Barnes has a ceiling higher than Cox, and we would have had to sacrifice Levi for JOK, and I'd rather have Levi. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Personally, I don't know about the whole ceiling about Derek Barnes to Jabril Cox. They're very different players, and that's all there is to it. They're just different styles of linebackers, right? Derek Barnes is a traditional downhill, pass rushing. He's the guy that's going to tackle. He's going to run. He's going to, do everything you need him to do, but he's not going to be the greatest coverage linebacker. Not that he's bad at it necessarily, but he's not necessarily the greatest at it. Again, they're just different linebackers. It's not that one's necessarily better than the other. It's just that they play different styles of football. And I think Derek Barnes' style fits the mold and fits the identity of what the Lions want to be, and that is stop the run. And that's something Derek Barnes does better than Jabril Cox, and I would say even arguably better than Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Although I think that one's very much borderline. But yeah, same thing. Like Levi, I would take Levi Onwuzurike over Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And I say that because I think defensive line is more important than linebacker. And although I think Jeremiah was the best linebacker in this class, I think Levi was the best defensive lineman in this class. And if you were to simply give me an option between the best defensive lineman or the best linebacker in the NFL, if you were to give me an option between Aaron Donald or Bobby Wagner, I will take Aaron Donald 10 times out of 10. If you give me an option, and I'm not here to argue who's the best linebacker in the NFL. Bobby Wagner, in my opinion, is, but that's up for debate, and that's fine. But if you give me the option between the best defensive tackle in the NFL and the best linebacker, I will take defensive lineman 10 times out of 10. And if you were to even give me the option, and I heard this comparison a lot between, or at least from Levi and guys that he was compared to Christian Jones, the defensive tackle from the Kansas City Chiefs. If you were to give me an option between Christian Jones and, let's say, Fred Warner, or Christian Jones or what's the Colts guy's name? Darius Leonard. I will take Christian Jones, a dominant defensive tackle, over a dominant linebacker every single day of the week, because at the end of the day, the team with the defensive tackle is genuinely and generally more successful. Derek Watson says Derrick Henry used their stiff arm and he's going to be a damn MVP. Yeah. That's exactly right. I feel better about the linebacker position with more linebackers that can cover. For me, I think Sean Deion Hamilton has that kind of on lock. Sean Deion Hamilton can cover. Jamie Collins can cover okay. I'm just trying to go. Jalen Reeves-Maybin's a solid coverage guy. And I see what you're saying with that. I do. I get it. But I'm not super concerned about it as of right now. I think that they've upgraded enough where they're going to be okay. Oh, Alex Anzalone. Alex Anzalone is a very good coverage linebacker, so I'm fine with that too. I want to win the Super Bowl, don't you? I would love to win the Super Bowl. That is the end goal, and that's all I want out of life. I will die happy as soon as the Lions win a Super Bowl. Then what I'm saying is Sean Deion Hamilton is probably the reason why we didn't draft those cats. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's the sole reason, but I think he definitely played a factor in the decision that was made. Possibly, and I hope so. I'm super high on Sean Deion Hamilton. He's a guy that I thought was a really good pickup. That I thought was one of the sneaky pickups of the offseason was Sean Deion Hamilton, because he's a player that started for Washington this year, who had a top defense in the NFL. And I don't know why he got cut. Like, he's young, he's cheap, he's really athletic, he's a good, like, he doesn't have a ton of weaknesses. Maybe he's not the greatest pass rusher or greatest tackler or whatever. Maybe he doesn't hit the hardest, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, he's a good linebacker. And at the end of the day, the Lions got an upgrade when they added him to the roster. One part for you. Yes, I did mean Chris Jones. Chris Jones and Christian Jones. I always get them confused. Not because I don't know who they are. I just always say the other thing. I know Christian Jones is a linebacker for the Bears, and I know Chris Jones is a defensive tackle for the Chiefs. I just always say the wrong name, and I don't quite know why. Jabril Cox doesn't really thump. No, he doesn't hit very hard. He's very much a finesse linebacker, very much a coverage linebacker. He's not the greatest tackler. He's definitely not the hardest hitter. That's where Derek Barnes absolutely thrives, is tackling and hitting. So if that's the linebacker you want, that's the linebacker we got. But I will say Jabril Cox is better at coverage than what we do have currently. What are your thoughts on Quintez Cephus? I love Quintez Cephus. Quintez Cephus is one of my favorite players on the roster right now. He is a guy that just works hard. He's a good player, very underrated, not elite at anything, but not bad at anything. He's one of my favorite players, and I think he's a guy that's going to take a huge jump in year 2. Jamie Collins has been great on coverage last year. Was that just a down? Has been great on coverage. Oh, last year was okay. Last year was just a down year. Yeah, I think part of that's Patricia. I think part of that is the scheme. Part of that is just how we wanted him to play. I think I read somewhere that Jamie Collins was sitting about 10 pounds lighter now than he was last offseason as well, which, again, speaks poorly on Patricia, but speaks good on Dan Campbell for getting his players right. But I think Jamie Collins should be better this year. I think he should be a better coverage guy this year. Hopefully he's just better all around for us. Did you watch the Hall of Fame game? I thought the Cowboys are using Micah Parsons in the right way by moving him all over the field. I agree. I agree with you, Steve-O. I thought Parsons had a good game. I really did. I thought Parsons was really solid in that game. Obviously, had a fumble recovery, which was mostly lucky, but, he was in the right place, right time, and made the play that needed to be made. So, I'm not going to knock him for it. I'm not going to say he played poorly. He had a good game. He had a really solid game, especially for being a Hall of Fame game. Not a ton of game planning, I would assume. Not a lot of scheme, working on stuff like that. But I agree. I think they used him really well. I thought he played very well. I thought he played fine. Harris is also very good in that game. Yeah, I thought Will Harris was solid. I thought Will Harris played really well. Again, was really close to breaking up the pass that went to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Had some really good coverage snaps. Didn't really get tested a whole lot. Wasn't tested, I don't think, one time directly. But was in right place, right time. Just all around, I thought Will Harris played fine. I thought, again, wasn't tested a lot, so I don't have a ton of takeaways, but he was fine. I heard injury problem for Sean Deion Hamilton. What's new for the Lions, right? But Sean Deion Hamilton is an absolute player. He's a good football player, and he makes the Lions a better football team when he's on the field. Nobody has said much about Tavai except for the lost weight. Now, not even the sports media has said much on the progress in camp. To be totally honest, I didn't notice Tavai a whole lot. He was working with the second team defense during walkthroughs, was working with the second team defense during the scrimmage. Didn't make a lot of plays, but didn't get exposed either. I don't specifically remember a play where Tavai stuck out either positively or negatively, which, you can look at it either way as being good or bad. He wasn't struggling. He wasn't tested and wasn't exposed, but he also wasn't a playmaking linebacker that, overall, was some dominant force. So, I haven't heard a lot about him. He has been kind of quiet, which, it could be good or bad. Now JOK can definitely, JOK can absolutely thump. JOK can absolutely put somebody on the ground. Will the Lions wide receiver depth chart be Williams is a given starter? I think it's Williams at 1. I think Quintez is 2. I think Amon-Ra is 3. I think that after that, it doesn't matter because I think they're all going to play different roles. But I think Raymond makes it. I think Bolden makes it. And I think that I'll just give the nod to Javon McKinley for that last role or for that last spot. Although I will say Sage Surratt looked really good, and I think he now has a upper edge, or at least based off just what I've seen, he does have the upper hand on Javon McKinley at this point in time. But I think it's still a very close battle. Patricia is one of the many Patriot assistant coaches who becomes a head coach and failed. Tells me that Bill Belichick was the coaching genius. Yeah, I don't think you're the first one to figure that out. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that Bill Belichick does all the coaching and does very little teaching. Who do you want the Lions' number one corner? Okudah, Amani, or Dunbar? Based off what I saw, Okudah. Based off what I saw at the scrimmage, Okudah was phenomenal. He had good footwork, did not get beat once, was not out of position. I mean, just phenomenal. He was really, really good. And I think Okudah is going to be the number one, as he should be. You're right. Cephas will be a baller in this year, in year two. Great target for Goff. Yeah, yep, great guy. I'm talking about Najee. You need glasses, bro. I have a lot of things rolling through my mind. My fault. When you talk about Najee Harris, I said Will Harris. In my defense, we're talking Lions football, and when you say Harris, I mean, I think about our guys. My fault. That had nothing to do with glasses. That just had I just misinterpreted the what you put. Yeah, Najee Harris played fine too. I didn't really take a lot of notes on Najee Harris, but I mean, from what I saw, he was good. Did you see Levi getting any reps? I did not personally, but from what I've read, he's been playing really solid. He's been very explosive. I'd like to see Trey Boston added to this roster just as insurance for Harris. He still scares me a bit. I wouldn't be upset with that. I wouldn't be upset with Trey Boston, but I don't think it's going to happen personally. When I went to camp, I thought Ratley was making some plays, and I think he has a chance to make it as the fourth or fifth. He's a guy that is definitely competing. He's a guy that he's kind of been quiet. I haven't heard a lot about Damian Ratley, but he's a guy that I think is absolutely still in the running for a spot. I heard Okudah has been killing it this offseason. What do you think changed him compared to last year? Health, scheme, and coaching. Those are the three things that really let Jeff Okudah down last year. Yes, his top end speed did cause some mistakes the season ago, which wasn't great. But overall, the scheme did not help Jeff Okudah. He was put on an island versus the two best wide receivers in the NFL in his first two games. That did not help him get off to a fast start. He was not healthy, I don't think, at all last season, or when he was, it was for a very brief time. And number three, he wasn't coached properly. You could see it. He was lost. He didn't know what he was doing, and you could see that the coaching wasn't right for him. You could see it wasn't clicking for him, but on the field during walkthroughs and during the scrimmage, you could see that it was starting to click. It was starting to kind of make sense to him, and that Aubrey Pleasant and Aaron Glenn were getting through to him. The Rams house joining us for joining for your show. If he wants to be on, all he's got to do is ask, man. I'd be more than happy to talk with him. I'd be more than happy than have him on here with us. I'd be more than happy to do so. Well, I don't think you're talking to me, but if he wants to be on my show too, then he's more than welcome to be on my show. You're not talking to me, but that's okay. He's, again, still more than likely to be on my show if he wants to be. Possibly, I love having him on. I don't know. Hey, whatever. I think Levi is hurt. Levi came back in the middle of the week. I think he came back Tuesday or Wednesday of this past week. And got a couple days, and then did not play for the scrimmage. But he's been getting a couple reps here and there. I don't know if he was hurt. I never got an official injury report on it, but he was missing some time. The analytics den is laughing at me. That's okay. Jesse Bates still hasn't re-signed. There is a lot of time. If Jesse Bates does not re-sign, like if he officially, like by the offseason doesn't re-sign, I will be freaking out. But there is a ton of time until that happens. Although I will say, if he's in his contract year, which he is, the fact that he hasn't re-signed yet, I think is something big. That does say that like they're at least having some kind of trouble re-signing him. But I'm not going to get too excited yet because there's still a ton of time for him to get signed. There's still a month before the actual season begins. Now that Stafford and Galladay are gone, do you have a new favorite Lions player? Romeo's up there. Ragnow is absolutely one of my favorite players on the team. Taylor Decker as well is one of my favorite players. DeAndre's was one of my favorites last year. I would say my absolute favorite player on the roster right now is Frank Ragnow. He's a guy that just impresses me every single day, is a guy that is just the best at what he does. And he's a Detroit Lion. Like, he is the embodiment of what I want the Lions to be. He is big. He is mean. He is good at his job. He wins, or he does his part at least to win football games, and he is the best player on the field. His mindset, his skill set, he is what I want the Lions to be. He is the embodiment of what I want the Lions to be. So right now, Frank Ragnow is my absolute favorite player. Okudah, and he just got signed through like 2026. So I think I'm going to be enjoying some Frank Ragnow highlights for a while. Okudah is getting his hands on receivers and getting physical with them at training camp from what I've seen, something he wasn't doing last year. That's another thing that I think is really helping him be solid. It's something that is really helping him be a good player. Bates is your guy. I love Bates. If we can get Jesse Bates on this team alongside Tracy Walker, have Will Harris as the third safety, that is a really good safety room. Especially if Will Harris can actually properly develop, like I said like 5 times in a row. If Tracy Walker and Jesse Bates are on the field at the same time, and Will Harris can develop properly, like people have been saying he has been at this training camp, that will be a phenomenal safety trio, and I would love that. Sorry that I sometimes struggle with my words. He hasn't been re-signed. I'm stunned, but I'm also not because it's the Bengals. That's a fair point. How good will the duo of Swift and Williams be? They will be very good. They will be fantastic. If Campbell wants free agents here, all he has to do is win 8 games. I don't disagree. I do not disagree. I think Dr. Detroit says he thinks I might have picked a decent receiver. Well, I appreciate that. I also think that I may have actually ended up picking a pretty solid player in the NFL draft. I think that I did a pretty good job. Not that I had much of say of like who I picked, but I like to tell myself that I willed this into existence, because when I was at backstage and I was about to get the card, my only thought was Amon-Ra St. Brown or Tylan Wallace. It was one of the two, and it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I like to tell myself, and I like to believe, that I willed Amon-Ra St. Brown onto the Detroit Lions, although that absolutely did not happen. Oh, you hear Stafford broke his thumb? I did hear that. But I also heard that he was gripping his helmet and gripping a towel with it. So I don't know if he actually broke it. I don't know if that's like confirmed or not, or if he just bruised it really bad. But I heard it wasn't like serious, or like they're not super concerned about it. And again, he was grabbing his helmet, which again, if you try to grab something without your thumb, like it's really difficult to do. So the fact that he was like holding his helmet, holding stuff, makes me think that it wasn't super bad. But hey, either way, great pick. I appreciate that. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a stud. He is a stud. Yeah, Stafford has been breaking things for years. Yes, but he also plays through it every year. So, he's going to play. He's going to be fine. That's just Stafford making it fair for everybody else. Because I think this is Flowers and Collins last year here. Flowers, I would agree with. I would agree about Trey Flowers. I would say if Jamie Collins plays well this year, I could see him sticking around for one more, especially with his contract implications. I believe it doesn't actually go like really away until 2023. But I would say if Collins plays well, I could see him staying for one more season, especially with the restructuring of his contract earlier in the offseason. But he is built in excuse, don't he? Lol. Nope, he has no excuse. No excuses. I see 36 people watching. Let's get those likes up, Lions fans. He is doing great live. I appreciate that. Now, not to correct you, analytics, but there's 39 people from what I'm seeing. So that's even more. And we got to get those likes up. I don't know exactly what we're at right now. I don't actually have like my stream running. I'm not even viewing my own stream. What kind of a YouTuber am I? But man, 38 people, 39 people is a phenomenal turnout for one. So, if you guys could just do that, if you guys could be so kind as to hit the like button, I would be fantastic. Let's just see it. Well, we're at 27 likes and 37 people. So let's see if we can get those likes up. Let's see if we can get those likes. So that'd be fantastic. Let's see. Me too. One pride. How did Julian do? I heard he was doing good. I have a video coming out about Julian Okwara in a day or two. He's been doing really good. He's been really solid. Came back from injury. And I know you're all thinking, injury, that's, ew. He's injured again. It wasn't a serious injury. It was a bruised rib. I don't know a single NFL player if they've ever gone through an NFL season without bruising something. So, yes, Julian Okwara missed a day with injury, but it was just a bruised rib. It was nothing serious. He was back out a day later and looked really good, actually looked better after the bruised rib, funnily enough. But he's looking really good, and I don't want to go into too much detail. We actually just hit 40 people, which is amazing. I don't know if that's a stream high or not, but that's really good, so thank you all. I lost my train of thought, but Julian's been very good, and I will go more in depth with that in a couple of days when I get that video out. He did break his thumb. That's unfortunate to hear. Because he just hit it on the helmet, I'm pretty sure. Like, just on the follow-through, hit it on the helmet. I mean, that's super unfortunate. We have some good dogs on this team and more to come. Can't wait to shut the haters up. Been a huge Lions fan for 35 years. Great things are coming. I hope so. I really hope stuff is happening. We do it. We have some dogs on this team. We have some absolute dogs. Imagine Stafford behind this offensive line. It would be the best of his career, I will say. But, Goff's my quarterback now. I love Matthew Stafford. Yeah, I might have just bought a Matthew Stafford helmet. It's fine. It's a dope helmet. I'll go get it in a minute. But, Stafford is not our guy anymore. I love Stafford. Stafford's still my second favorite quarterback. But Goff is my guy. Goff is my player now. He is my quarterback, and he's the guy I'll be rooting for. No superstars, just efficient players. That is not true. Frank Ragnow is an absolute stud. He is a superstar. Taylor Decker is a superstar. Other than that, it's debatable. There's some other stars that could potentially get there one day. But right now, the Lions have at least two bona fide superstars on their team, and that is Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker. So Goff will do wonders. I hope so. Really hope so. Broken thumb, great news for Lions fans. I mean, it doesn't really change a whole lot because he's still going to be fine. I just want Goff to play good because I don't want to draft a quarterback next year. I mean, yes and no. It depends. I mean, there's some good quarterbacks in this next class, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to talk quarterback right now because, a higher pick and Stafford has built an excuse like always. It is a cool helmet. It is a cool helmet. I've always wanted one of these. I've always wanted a full-size Lions helmet, and this is just a replica. And I found this for $50. Found this for $50 yesterday. It's a dope signature. I actually really like Matt Stafford's signature. And it's a full-size Lions helmet. Like, you can't tell me this thing is not awesome. Like, you cannot be mad at me for buying this because this is the coolest thing I think I own. I'll put that over here for now. I can't wear it because there's a thing on the top that doesn't let me. But if I could, I would wear it for the rest of the stream. Personally, in my opinion, I wish we stopped looking back at Stafford. He did a lot for us. But like I said, Goff is our guy. And it's not like Stafford was Aaron Rodgers. Stafford was very good, but yeah, he's not our guy anymore. And I love Stafford, and I'll always root for Stafford, but he's not our guy. He's not our guy. Goff's my guy now. Goff is my favorite quarterback now in the NFL. It gets us a higher pick, potentially. We don't know that for sure, but yeah, I guess technically in theory, that is true. Brad Holmes hit the grand slam in this year's draft. I see 3 starters and 3 backups. I see 3 starters day one, but I see possibly 4 or 5 starters by the end of the season. And I think you'll actually left a player out because do we have a 7-man class or a 6-man class? Because we have Atul, Levi, Alim, Iffy, Amin-Ra, Derek Barnes. Yeah, we had a 7-man class, so you're missing somebody. But I see 5 starters and 2 backups by the end of the year. The backups being Melifonwu and Jamar Jefferson. I would sell Moby. Goff will do good, but I think he blocked me or something. Oh, That's unfortunate. I had him sign mine at VIP booth 10 minutes after he signed his last deal. That's sick. That's awesome. I'm keeping mine. That helmet is awesome. Appreciate it. Lol, why am I not surprised he blocked you? That's unfortunate. Sorry, bro. Decker and Ragnar are not superstars. They are not household NFL names. They're not household names because they're Lions. Frank Ragnar is at the worst the second best center in the NFL. And if you're going to tell me that guy's not a superstar, then I don't think you know the definition of a superstar. I apologize to be mean, but he's a superstar. Frank Ragnow is a household name. I'm pretty sure everybody in the NFL knows Frank Ragnow. Taylor Decker less so, but Taylor Decker statistically is a superstar. Don't forget superstar. Yeah, I'd say Hawkinson is too. Hawkinson is a superstar. I would agree with that. I don't know why he slipped my mind for a minute, but he did. I think Swell, Levi, McNeill, Iffy, Amon-Ra, and even Barnes can be starters someday. I think Iffy can be a starter one day, but I don't think he starts by the end of the season. I think if you're talking career long, I believe that Brad Holmes drafted 6 starters and a very, very valuable role player in Jermar Jefferson. Because I don't know if Jermar Jefferson will ever truly break out and be the number one back, especially with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. But he's going to be an effective starter. He's going to be an effective playmaker and a very good role player for many, many years. Then that's a successful class. Yeah, yes, it is. That's a very successful class. I remember the best Lions class was the 2012 class. I don't know who was in the 2012 class, but now I'm super curious. That was the Ndamukong Suh class. I'm almost certain of that. Like, that sounds right. But we'll look it up. Does people that don't watch football know Ragnow? Yes, they do. Pretty much everybody knows Ragnow. They should. If you watch any football, you will know that Frank Ragnow is the best, not best player, but he's the best center in the NFL. Detroit Lions. And if not, then if you don't watch football, you still know TJ Hawkinson. So they still have a superstar in your eyes. Because I don't know a single player that does, or I don't know a single person that doesn't know TJ Hawkinson. Frank Ragnow was ranked as the best center in football. Exactly. That's what we're saying. Frank Ragnow is sick. I don't care. I just want to see Goff look good and get the running game look good and keep building. I agree, 100%. Hey, as long as the Lions are playing good football, that's all I care about. As long as they play good football, then the rest will be fine. The rest will work itself out. While that loads, what makes you think he's not a household name? I got time. I'll be here for a bit. Yeah, diehard Lion fans love Stafford. Not big on Goff, but trying to get fired up about the season. Hey, I know that's, some people just don't like Goff, and that is what it is. Like, I'm not going to hate you, or I'm going to hate on you for not wanting to see Stafford in a different uniform, but, it is what it is. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, I suppose. Lions have 4 superstars on the offensive line. I wouldn't say that, but I would say they have 4 potential superstars on the offensive line, because I wouldn't say Penei Sewell is one yet. Although I guess by Kel's definition, he technically is, because I don't know anybody that doesn't know Penei Sewell. And then I would say that Jonah Jackson has the potential to get there, but I wouldn't say that he is one yet. TJ is one of our superstars. I would agree. TJ fits the mold of superstar. Decker will leave in a couple years, and Penei will move over. We will need to draft a true right tackle. It's simple math. I'm pretty sure Taylor Decker is actually locked up for a while. Like 2025, a while. But we are set up for the future, and they know what they're doing. I agree with that statement. I would agree with that. Let's see. What's the 2012 class? Oh, I was way off. 2012? Is that what you said? I'm pretty sure. I remember the best class was the 2012 class. That was Riley Reif, Ryan Broyles, Bill Bentley, Ronald Lewis, Tahir Whitehead, Chris Green. This was their best class? Really? Oh, you're looking probably 2011 because I saw Nick Fairley in there earlier. Interesting. All right. I just want to check out the class because see what we were looking at. Let's see. Nick Fairley. Yes, that draft. Superstars are athletes that people who don't watch football know. Example: Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. So I guess there's only like 3 superstars in the world because I couldn't tell you a single other golfer. And I guess LeBron James, technically, even though I watch basketball, so I know basketball players. So apparently, according to your logic, there's like 3 superstars in the NFL total, and that would be Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady and Aaron Donald, probably. I guess technically, by that definition, no, the Detroit Lions do not have a superstar, but that is a poor definition of a superstar. Ragnar top 3, I think he's better than that. I think he's 1, but I think there's an argument to be 2. I don't know. I don't think you can name 2 centers better than Ragnow, but I'd debate. Decker top 12. I'd put him top 10 based off the season he had based off the season he had last year. I would put him like 9 or 10. I wouldn't put him like top 5, but I definitely put him like just sneaking inside that top 10. And maybe I'm a little biased, but Noah Rags is the best center in the league. That's my personal opinion, but like I said, there's probably a little bit of room to debate for that. Penny probably top 18. I would agree with that. I would agree. I don't think you could name 18 better right tackles in the NFL. Guard's not shabby. I would agree with that. I think they're not anything special, but they're definitely not weaknesses. A high-profile and extremely successful performer or athlete is the definition of a superstar. That means the Lions have superstars, people. I knew it. God, I love being right. And Ragnar fits that. The Lions have a lot of things that fit that. No, I don't hate either. Everyone has a point of view. Mine is just right. That's all. Fair enough. And like I said, we're not that far away from each other, like a position or 2. So I'm not necessarily going to diss on it. You guys are loosely throwing around the word superstar. Hockenson is good, but he's not a superstar. And there are superstar O-line. Only people that really love football know. Well, you can still be a superstar without being widely known. The superstar definition is like the analytic den said, a high profile, extremely successful performer or athlete. That fits the description of Frank Ragnow, Taylor Decker, and TJ Hockenson. They are extremely successful athletes. TJ, maybe you don't want to put TJ up there, but Frank Ragnow is absolutely a superstar. I think we have 2 superstars, Ragnow and Hockenson, in my opinion, or budding superstars. Sewell can do it too, but beyond that, it's slim shady. I mean, fair enough. Like, I put Taylor Decker up there because of the season he had a year ago, but I understand if people don't want to do that because he has only had like 1 true season of top-end play. So if you don't want to say Decker's a superstar, I'd say last year he was, but I'd say career-wise maybe not. But Ragnow, absolutely. TJ is young, but at least last year, absolutely. Steve-O, that's not true. A high-profile and extremely successful performer or athlete. Ragnow is a high-profile and successful performer. Anybody who is football knows Frank Ragnow. I would agree with that. And I would agree with what Dr. Detroit said. But superstars don't win Super Bowls. Yes and no. My bad, 2013, the Ziggy class. Okay, yeah, Ziggy Ansah and Darius Slay, that is a very good class. That's not my definition of a superstar. Well, that's the definition of a superstar. Frank Ragnow is a superstar. He should be in the Wheaties box soon. I mean, he might be. You don't know that. You don't know if he's not. That's the textbook definition. There you go. Steve-O, maybe a bit, but there are at least star players there. They are not elite to me. That's the next level, but they should be a scoring system so we can correctly rank. I mean, maybe. I would say Frank Ragnow is an elite player. I would say Frank Ragnow is the only elite player on the Lions, but I would say Frank Ragnow is an elite player. That's my personal opinion. If Dan Campbell were coach a few years ago, Darius Slay would still be on the Lions. I agree. Not sure why people hate Goff. He's won playoff games, went to a Super Bowl. Love Stafford, but people Need to get what Goff is as a quarterback, a game manager, and has a good arm. Hawk, Williams, and Swift. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Jared Goff is a successful quarterback. Jared Goff is a guy that has proven he can win, and he's a good he's just a good quarterback. He's not a superstar. He's just a good, solid player. Superstars are players that reach outside the fan base with their sport. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes are superstars. Come get real. So, Steve-O, how many superstars are in the NFL? 3 or 4? Because I wouldn't consider those superstars. I would consider those something completely different in their own right. I think Ragnow is head to elite and superstar, and Hawk is right behind him. Sewell has more potential than all of the above. That's just, I agree with that. I agree. Like I said, I would put Ragnow in that elite category because he's had back-to-back really good seasons and was just ranked the best center in the NFL. And if you're the best at anything, you're an elite player in my book. But I would agree with you. I think Sewell has more potential than both of them or all of them. And yeah, I mean, I think that they are incredibly close. So maybe that's just my personal opinion, but I would agree with that. I know plenty of non-Lion fans that know who Ragnow and Hawkinson is. In fact, I know every fan base knows who Hawkinson is. I would agree. Amon is our Galladay. I hope so. Hope so. That would be sick. I don't think he's going to be like the same play style as Galladay, but I really, really hope that he gets there sometime. Mel, stop being an argumentative fool. Talk about what you know, not about what you think. Hey, people are free to talk about whatever they want. I'm not going to just like roll over and let them do it or let them, get away with it. But at the same time, they're free to express their opinions. 37 watching, 30 likes. If you have not liked the video yet, please go ahead and do so. That would be very helpful to me. Not the same style, but clutch. I'd agree. All right, let's see. Let's go back to this 13 class. One more above. Okay, this is a solid class. I will give you that. Let me zoom in. Wow, this is a good class. Amon-Ra is insane. Amon-Ra is unreal. Amon-Ra is so good. All right, this is lagging real behind. That's okay. Amon-Ra is really good. Amon-Ra is insane. I thought Warford was a solid guard. I thought he was a good guard. I thought he played very well for when he was with the Lions. He played great with a terrible Slovis. Fair enough. How about elite players? I would say the Lions have one. I like the Lions have one elite player, that being Frank Ragnow. Let's see. Den, I was with absolute ripping apart Slovis. Yeah, a lot of people do not like Kenan Slovis, we'll say. I'm not entirely sure what the hate is all about. Granted, I have not particularly watched a lot of Kenan Slovis or Kyle Slovis or whatever his name is. I have not watched a ton of his tape or his film, so I couldn't give you like the best analysis on him. But there seems to be a lot of hate going around for him. All right, what is it doing? Come on. This is just being incredibly laggy. All right, I might just have to read it off for you instead. Hawk is right behind him. Hawk is headed to elite. I agree. I think if Hawkinson puts together another really good season, if Hawk hits, 1,000+ yards, 10+ touchdowns, I think we could talk about Hawk as elite. I don't think he's there quite yet, but I think he absolutely has the potential to get there by the end of the season. Low-key, 2014 was not a bad class either, now that I was looking at it. I hope Swift is next because that means Goff is rocking and we looking like a team. I agree. I really hope so. I hope he's that good. I think Hawk is an elite player as well, and if Decker is on the top of his game, he has the potential to be elite any given season. I agree, actually. I think that he has the potential to do so, but I think he is not quite there just yet. At least as far as Hockenson, I think he's quite there. Decker, I think with a good season or two more under his belt, like if he plays exactly like he did last season over and over the next 2 years, I would put him in borderline elite territory, at least from a production standpoint. All right. So this 2013 class that One Pride 40 was talking about features Ziggy Ansah with the 5th pick, Darius Slay with the 36th pick, Larry Warford at 65, Devin Taylor at 132, Sam Martin at 165, Theo Riddick at 199, and a couple other lesser-known players. But that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eventual starters. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 players that are still in the NFL. Larry Warford, I guess, is he in the NFL still? He took a year off, so I don't know if that counts. I don't know. Larry Warford, I think, still. So that's 5 players that are still starters in the NFL right now. I'd say 3 superstars with Ziggy, Darius, and Sam Martin was like the best player on our team for a minute. But that's a phenomenal class. That's really good. Let's just say I did a live and watched Amon-Ra St. Brown film. And was just awful. Clearly, oh, okay. You're talking about Slovis. I was like, you watched Amon-Ra St. Brown film and he was awful? I was like, I did not see that game. But yeah, if you're talking about Slovis, then that's fair enough. Depends on your definition of elite. Hockenson never had a 100 game last year. He was productive yet. Like I said, I don't think he's elite yet, but I think he has the potential to be elite next season. Was he a top 4 tight end? He was. I would agree. I think he's number 4. He's behind Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller. But he is absolutely top 5, and I think that he is better than Mark Andrews, who is my 5th. He does it all and will only improve, well, hopefully. And if he does, he is elite across the board. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, I get that, analytics is talking about like he didn't have a 100-yard game. I think, obviously, blocking doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Route running does not show up on the stat sheet. But those are things that he was really good at, and those were things that he did to help the Lions win. So I do believe that TJ Hockenson is a little bit better than his stats indicate because of his run blocking ability. But at the same time, I still am not quite ready to say that he is elite quite yet. Like Dr. Detroit says right here, blocking, catching, routes run, everything. He's good at everything. He's a phenomenal blocker. He has good hands. He runs good routes, especially for a tight end. He even has a little bit of speed to him and a little bit of solid contact balance. He doesn't even go down very easily. So that's another thing you could throw on top. Like he's just a great player all around with no weakness. What players were drafted in 2014 gives me a D-. So you have Eric Ebron, Kyle Van Noy, Nevin Lawson, like that's not a phenomenal class. Like Kyle Van Noy was good with somebody else. Eric Ebron was good with somebody else. Nevin Lawson was never good. CJ Jones, I thought, was an underrated wide receiver for a while. Like, I mean, not like this was a phenomenal class. Like, I wouldn't say this was like their best class or anything. I'd say like probably C. I'd give it like a C, maybe a C-. No, but I think he is an elite after this season. If he puts up production like he did last season, or even like, obviously, hopefully he improves and gets better, I would consider putting him at an elite status. Goff going to Landon. Goff is going to use Jared Goff so very much. He is going to use Jared Goff is going to use TJ Hockenson a ton. And I'm excited for it because I believe that those two are truly going to have a special connection. It's going to be that Stafford and Megatron. It's going to be that Tom Brady to Gronkowski kind of connection. And it's going to be something really special to see. I have very high hopes for Hockenson after seeing the work he has put in this offseason and feel like he is laser focused and stronger, quicker, and faster. And most of all, his confidence seems much higher. I would agree. I think his confidence is super high. He does look faster, does look stronger, and to me, looks a little bit more explosive off the line. Looks like he's definitely worked on his footwork over the season or over the offseason with George Kittle and all those guys. So yeah, I would say I agree with everything you said, but another thing, kind of go with the quickness, but I would say just his footwork is so much better this season, and is just from what I've seen is much better. I hope that opens up Swift. And we are a weird juggernaut. I mean, I hope so too. Goff is great at short and medium throws. I think he better than Stafford at short and medium throws, but Stafford's better. I would say Stafford is, I think, one of the more underrated deep ball throwers in the league. Stafford is a really good deep ball when he's given time and we can step into it. He's one of the better deep ball throwers in the NFL. Not the best, but I definitely say top 10 deep ball thrower in the NFL for sure. I don't think Goff is quite there yet, but Goff does have some arm strength and arm talent of his own. Our own line just throws D lines around angry. I hope that's what we get. We just need to protect him. I agree. I agree. I just find it funny how we got better at everything but wide receiver and safety, and somehow we are going to be worse than last year. That was one thing that I've never understood. And I've made a whole video on this if you want to go watch it. The Lions got better everywhere. They downgraded a quarterback barely. Their offensive line is much better. Their running back room as a whole is much better. Their quarterback room as a whole is much better, but I'd say starting-wise, they're worse. So if you're going like room by room, depth, talent, everything across the board, the quarterback room all throughout top 3 is better than last year. The running back room is better than last year. The wide receiver room, I say talent-wise, is worse, but production-wise is going to be very similar. The O-line is miles better. The tight end position is better. The DBs are better. The coaches and coordinators and everything in the front office is better. The linebackers, I would say probably not, but I'd say they're very close to what they were last year. Safety, I'd say we're pretty similar to what we had last year. Our safeties weren't good last year anyway. So we were good all across the board and got better coaching coordinators and play callers. And somehow we're going to go from a 5-6 win team to a 1-2 win team like that. I've never understood that narrative. Stafford has velocity on the ball for sure. That's a fact. Aiden, well, the other teams have also gotten better, especially the ones we play. Our schedule is no joke. I agree with that, and I get that argument. But at the same time, this team did not go from a 5-6 win team to a 2-win team in an offseason. The other teams around the Lions did not get that much better than the Detroit Lions to where they would go from 5-6 win with Patricia in that roster last year to 1 or 2 wins this year. I think I'm going to buy a Twinkle Toes jersey. That'd be funny. Now, if this class can surpass the 2013 class, then job well done to Brad Holmes. That would be a tough one, but I think it has potential. Hawk will be doubted almost every down. Oh, double. I said doubted. We double almost every down because of the weakness in wideout. Tight end 2 will be a lot of chances. That might be true. No, we are a 5-6 win team. Maybe catch 1 or 2 off guard. I don't disagree with that. I'm a little higher. I'm 6-7 wins, so I'm like 1-2 wins higher than you. But at the same time, we are definitely not a 3-2 win football team. We are not a 1-2 win football team. That's just horrible. If they double Hawk, then Amon-Ra St. Brown will feast. I agree. I 100% agree. You know what? We could have had Donald, Lewan, OBJ. Instead, we drafted a drop-heavy tight end because of everybody's favorite. Yeah, we could have. Absolutely. That Eric Ebron pick is haunting some people. Cool. Our edges will be 1-on-1 and with a running back, Swift, then Jeffrey. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. If they double Hawkinson, then everybody else is going to feast. No idea how good they will be. We haven't seen a preseason snap yet, but I'm thinking 7-10 or 7 and 10. Sorry. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. I say 6-7 wins is reasonable and acceptable for year 1. I agree. I'm with you guys right there. I think 6-7 wins is reasonable. I think that's actually fairly realistic. And I would say year 1 coming in and having so much work to do from the Quinn Trisha era, 7 wins I think is very respectable for a year 1 player. I'm at 5-2-6, and so we are on the same page. Yeah, I think that's kind of where everybody is right now. In the Lions, I feel like are that weird team that's like they probably won't win more than 8 games, but they're also going to be that team that's so difficult to get out that they realistically could get like 8 to 9 wins. Now, that would be a high end. That would be a like everything goes right and the Lions are ahead of schedule. But like, I genuinely think 8 to 9 wins is not even the most outlandish thing the Lions could accomplish this year. But at the same time, I also think that it's probably more realistic that they're 7 to 8, 6 to 7. My number right now is 7 and 10. That's kind of where I sit right now. And I know in the video I made, I said 9 and 8, but that was without Aaron Rodgers. Right now, I'm sitting at 7 and 10 as well. I'm right here with analytics. I'm at 7 and 10 right now as far as just overall record wise, with knowing our schedule, knowing we play some tougher teams, knowing we're playing Aaron Rodgers again, I'm at 7 and 10, and that's where I'm sitting. Let's see. I really just want to see competitive, disciplined football, make other teams beat us, don't beat ourselves. That, I think, is a fair request for this Lions team. I think that is a fair request, is just play good football. Like, don't beat yourselves. If you get beat because the other team is just better than you, then it is what it is. If the other team is just faster than you, if it's the Kansas City Chiefs and they're just simply a better football team, if it's the Baltimore Ravens or the Cleveland Browns and they are just simply a couple years ahead of you, there's no shame in losing to elite teams in the NFL. But there is shame in out-coaching yourself, out-thinking yourself, overthinking everything. There is shame in that, but there is no shame in there's no shame in losing necessarily. It's just whether or not the Detroit Lions coaching staff can just play and have their team play good football. I think the 2021 Lions are going to be like the 2020 Giants, better and competitive, but still clearly young and building. That is not a poor analysis, actually. I actually kind of like that comparison. Beating a hurt San Fran team game 1 will really help confidence. That game is a homer, I believe. That is a home game, and that is a game I actually think the Lions do win. That's a game that I'm actually sticking with. I do think the Lions win that game. And I think the Lions, it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a slugfest. But I think the Lions pull it out in the end. Again, maybe they trail for 2 to 3 quarters, but come that fourth quarter, the Niners are going to be tired. They might have a couple injuries already. The Lions are going to be healthy. They're going to be rotating. They're going to have guys ready to go. They're going to have a good running back rotation, and they are going to just pound the rock, and they're going to break through for a late touchdown to seal the victory. I think they do win week 1. I agree with analytics right here. You said 24-21 Lions win. I agree with that. I think it's going to be a low, like 3 to 7 point victory for whoever ends up actually winning it. And I think the only reason I actually think the Lions do win this game at home week 1 is because of the fans, is because the fans are back. It's a home game, a home opener, first time you're in front of the actual home crowd in over a year, almost 2 years. I genuinely think they come out with a fire, and I think that the noise is going to throw off the opposing team at every stadium. I think the home team is going to have a really good record week 1 because of the change in atmosphere just around the NFL. I think that crowd factor is going to be huge for not only the Lions, but every home team across the board. I am one of the few people that hates the current 49ers roster. What do you mean you hate them? Like you don't think they're a good roster, or you just hate to play them? Like, what kind of hate are we talking about? Or you hate the people on, like you hate them as people? Like, what kind of hate are you talking about? I'd be curious to know. But I don't know. I don't think it's like the best roster in the NFL. I don't think they're like a Super Bowl caliber roster. But I think they're better than what they were a season ago. I agree. Crowd factor will be huge. That's like the big reason I think the Lions upset week 1 is because of the crowd factor. Like, I just think they're going to come in and they're going to feed off all of that energy, whereas the opposing team, the away team, is just not going to, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? We got better at safety and much better at receiver. 2020 receivers led the NFL in drops. We definitely didn't get much better at wide receiver. We're much better at safety, but I don't think we got significantly worse either. I think we're about the same at those positions. I've gone extensively into the receiving core. this year, and they are not any better or worse than last year. They are very much the same receiving core. And yes, I understand that they led the league in drops, but they were also a top 10 passing offense as far as yardage a season ago and 13th in touchdowns. So they were not a horrific receiving room. They were fine statistically, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see. 2020 Lions receivers, I have to say, dude, our receivers led the NFL in drops last year. They sucked, but again, they also were top 10 in yards and top 13 in touchdowns. So they did not suck that much. Jimmy G has one good season. Deebo Samuel only plays well on screens. Ayuk is their only wide receiver I like. They only have a good running back. Kittle cannot make the offense elite by himself, and their O-line is good. I agree. I do not like Jimmy G. And I don't know if he's going to start. I hope Jimmy Graham starts. I said Jimmy Graham. Yeah, I hope Jimmy Graham starts at quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers because that would be amazing. But I actually think, or I hope that Jimmy Garoppolo, who was the actual starter, I think he will start. I hope he does start because I'm not going to lie. Like, I get that they're highlights. I get that they are obviously skewed to make Trey Lance look really good. But Trey Lance looks really good in training camp. He looks really, really solid. And honestly, I would be more scared to play Trey Lance week 1 than I am to play Jimmy Garoppolo week 1. So with that being said, that's kind of my opinion on Jimmy G. Deebo Samuel, he's a good runner after the catch, but I don't think he's necessarily a great, like, go up and get it wide receiver. I like Ayuk. Kittle's obviously great. Their offensive line is good. Like, I think they're a good football team, but I don't think they're a great football team. I agree with you. Go check out the 2017 Saints class. That class was stupid. Or 2018 Colts class. Yeah, those classes were pretty good. Love your show. Thanks for the work. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you just coming out here and hanging out with me. That's all the thanks that I need is somebody else to come talk some Lions football with. The key to beating the 49ers is stopping their run game. I was at the San Francisco 49er game in 2018, and they gashed us all game long. Yeah, that is true, and we still almost won that game. We still almost came back to win. So I agree with you. Dr. Detroit just straight up said McNeill. Oh, okay. I was thrown off for a second. Yeah, McNeill should be able to eat some of that up. Okay. I got it now. I had a realization. It's fine. Defense-wise, other than Bosa and Warner, who is good? Javon McKinley. Is it Javon McKinley? Not Javon McKinley. Who's the player that they just drafted? He's a defensive tackle. He's from he's going into his second year. He was their first-round pick last year. Javon Kinlaw. I like Javon Kinlaw on their defense as well. Sherman is gone. Verrett is there, but he is always hurt. They had one good pass rusher, and their safeties are down year in 20. Yeah, again, like, I think they're good. Warner's good. Bosa's good. Their rookie from last year, who I literally just said his name, and his name is escaping me again. Kinlaw. Kinlaw is a good player. Verrett's good when he's on the field. Like, they have good players, but they're not phenomenal. They're not great all around. They're not the team that they were in 2019. Eat them up, Twinkle Toes. Okay, I got the Twinkle Toes reference when you said that. You gonna buy I don't know if I'm going to. I really hope to see Dr. Detroit rocking a Alim McNeill jersey. That'd be sick. That'd be awesome. If Bosa gets shut down, that defense will be reduced to rubble. I don't disagree. Javon McKinley, he had slightly better stats. No, I think he's just a good player. Like, all around, I thought he was a good player last year. Not like an elite player, but I thought he was a good player. Go check out the 20s. Yeah, I've seen the classes. This just makes everything really slow and laggy. That's why I was not doing it right away. Was that game against San Francisco the Hansen missed field goal last minute, or was that a few years? That must have been a few years before, because the 2018 game was, well, Matt Prater was our kicker, but that was the game where Tracy Walker picked off Jimmy Garoppolo, like, to win the football game, or at least to put the Lions in field goal range to win the football game. And that was called back for holding, and the Lions eventually lost to that. So the one you're thinking, it must have been a couple years prior. Yes, one pride. I love Jerry Ball, and this guy is a wrecking ball. This dude is dude like Alim McNeill is incredible. He just is a phenomenal player, a phenomenal prospect even. Let's see. Saints. Their 17 class was the one with Lattimore and Alvin Kamara. And I'm sure there were other players, but I don't know exactly. I learned today that Traquan Smith was a third-round selection. Let's see. 2017 Saints class. I got cold all of a sudden. Oh, yes, of course, because with all of those players, why wouldn't they also have Marcus Williams, Alex Anzalone, Trey Hendrickson, and Ryan Ramczyk? This is the best rookie class I've ever seen. I knew it was good. I just forgot it was that good. I think the Lions got the run stuffers. Brockers an elite run stuffer. I don't know about elite, but I think very good. McNeill was elite in college. That I will give you, and is my guaranteed player in our class to be good. Collins Walker. All right. I like it. McNeill was my favorite pick, not named Sewell, and I'm a huge fan of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I agree. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sewell was my favorite pick because that's the guy that I was really like pounding the table, like we have to get this guy. But I think Alim McNeill might have been the best value pick in the draft, if not Amon-Ra. We gotta get after the quarterback too. That's true. But Alim does not just stuff the run. He also gets penetration in the passing game. And Romeo, Julian, and Trey Flowers should all be able to get to the passer. And then Levi and Deshaun Hand should hopefully be able to get some interior pressure as well. I loved when the announcers to the draft were like, oh, they should have taken McNeill. Then the next pick, they take McNeill. I didn't get to see that. I wasn't listening to the commentators because I was at the draft, but that's funny. That's hilarious. One pride for you. I think I agree with you. This 2017 Saints class might be the greatest rookie class I've ever seen. We'll go to the Colts, though. We'll check it out. You said Colts 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the Quentin Nelson draft. Let's see it. We got 10 sacks. We got 10 sack Romeo, and he was top 5 in pressures in 2019. I think you mean 2020. Top 5 in pressures. 2019 year Flowers, when he was healthy, had 7 sacks and 62 pressures. And when adding Levi, and if Hand can stay healthy, you even have Levi. Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of good players. It's just a matter of staying healthy and keeping them on the field. Okay. I wouldn't say this class is as good, but I like this class a lot. 2018 Colts class. You can't see it. It's Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, couple guys. Taquan Lewis is a notable name. Nyheim Hines is a notable name from that class. A couple of guys. I mean, obviously 2 superstars, and then Nyheim Hines is a starter. I mean, that's a really good class, but I wouldn't say it's quite as good as the 2017 Saints. That 2017 Saints class is insane. That's unreal. It was funny. They were shocked we went DT. I was shocked that we went DT. I was shocked. I didn't think that was even I didn't think that was even realistic. Like I was shocked. I was speechless. It was so funny. Getting Levi and McNeill made me so happy. My 2 top ranking I liked the picks. Don't get me wrong. I loved the picks. I just was not expecting the picks to be made the way that they were. Like, I was not expecting us to go defensive tackle. And personally, I did not know a lot about Alim McNeill when we selected him. But as soon as I looked at it, or as soon as I saw him and watched even the first couple of snaps, like, I was like, this is the guy I want on my football team. That was my first thought when watching Alim McNeill for the first time. And like I said, I didn't even watch Alim McNeill until after he was drafted by the Lions. My first thought was this is a guy that I want in my football team. So I love the picks. Out of the Saints class, I'm counting over 7 starters. I'm pretty sure everybody except for the 7th round pick started. And Lattimore is a high quality, not even starters, but like high quality starters. Lattimore and Ramczyk. Is it Ramczyk? I don't know. Their tackle, who's really good. Obviously, Alvin Kamara, Trey Henderson, Marcus Williams. Like, that's 5 high-end starters and 5 players that you pay big money to. That is a phenomenal rookie class. But as we approach the 2-hour mark, I think that might be where we cut it for today. This was a phenomenal stream. This was, I think, one of my favorite streams in a very long time. We got to talk Lions football. This is the time of year where Lions football is starting to come back. Early, I mean, all of August, I think, is just so fun because of the anticipation and the speculation. Then we get to September where the games count, and then we're back in football season. This is my favorite time of the year, and I cannot be more excited or more happy to be talking some Lions football with you. This was one of our better turnouts for streams in a very long time. We had over 45 people in here at one point, which, I mean, may not seem like a lot, but that is a lot of people, especially for our channel, especially for our live stream. So for all the people that came here, for all the people that showed up for the live stream, whether you're here for the first minute, whether you were here when the intro played, or you are here as the outro begins, I could not thank all of you enough for being here. But, you know, just I had so much fun today, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stream as well. We're not quite done yet. We're going to get to the 2-hour mark because I have not gotten there the last couple streams, and we're getting to the 2-hour mark. I'm just saying we're getting close to it. Oh, I agree. I could not be happier. OT in the first, DT in the second and third, and the wide receiver in the third. Wide receivers in the fourth. Oh, yeah, let's do it again, and then get studs. That's exactly it. That's exactly what it is. So what would be the bar for this class? I'd say 3 starters for this class. I'd say 3 starters. Sewell, Alim, and Amon-Ra should be the bar. If those 3 players do not become starters, I would say this class is a failure. If 3 to 4 players in this class do not become full-time starters by the end of the season, I would say, not that it was a bad class, but I would say it didn't live up to expectation. Now, with that being said, I think 3 starters by week 1 should be the expectation. And I think if you can pull off 3 starters on day 1, 2 of them not even being early picks necessarily, then you know that's a good class. And like Dr. Detroit said, anytime you can get 3 starters in a class, you did a good job. You hit 3 for 7 on starters, that's a good class. And I think 3 of 7 starters, or 3 players out of your 7-player class being starters, that I think is the bare minimum of what we're going to see out of this class. That I think is the absolute lowest. In the absolute worst case scenario that you're going to see out of this class is 3 starters. Again, I think Derek Barnes could start week 1. I think that if Ifeatu Melifonwu, I think Iffy could eventually start as a cornerback opposite Jeff Okudah if they don't want to re-sign Amani, or if Amani gets hurt or whatever happens. I think eventually Iffy could have developed into that as well. That's 5 players. And even that, I think Levi could be a starter as well. That's 6 of your 7 players with starting potential. That's a phenomenal class by Brad Holmes. That's a good job by the Detroit Lions. We could have 3 on the all-rookie team. That's even another thing. Like, we could have 3 all-rookies. And I don't know if Amon-Ra is going to make that team because there's a lot of good wide receivers in this class. Obviously, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Rashad Bateman. There's good players in this class. There's good wide receivers. The Lions are not the only team that got value, and they're not the only team that got good rookies and had good draft classes. But they're one of the better draft classes, I will say, in this group. I wouldn't even be shocked if Alim McNeill and Penei Sewell both end up as an all-rookie, at least nominee, if not a member of the all-rookie team. I mean, that's wild. That would be cool. And if Okudah actually starts and plays top 32 this year, I hope so. I think Okudah is going to start playing much better. Like I said earlier, with the new coaches, He's way healthier now. He's, he's got a lot of things going for him. He's going into his first true offseason as a professional. He's going to get better. He's going to improve. He's going to grow. He's going to get better as a football player. I have no doubts about that. So if Jeff Okudah can play as well, that class looks way better. Like, it's all coming together for the Detroit Lions is what I'm trying to, like, everything is coming together. Our players are young. They're talented. They're getting better. They're improving. If Jeff Okudah can play as a quality starter this year, I don't even need him to be like top 10. If he's a top 15 cornerback this year, then I'm happy. If he gets, 2-3 interceptions this year, or even if he just doesn't get any, but just plays way better, doesn't give up any big plays, doesn't give up a touchdown or whatever, I will consider it a successful class. Because, if Jeff Okudah can play well, then it is a successful class. If Jeff Okudah can live up to his expectation and live up to the hype, then it is a successful class. And then you go, you couple that on with this class, obviously if you have 5-6 starters from this class, then that puts you in way better position. You go back next year with 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, a third, like, you come back with so many high picks next year. Like, there's so much potential for this Lions team. There's so much potential for the Detroit Lions going forward. And there's no way that they ruin it. I guess for Rebecca, like, there's no way this Lions team does not become successful in the very near future. But on that note, we just crossed the 2-hour mark. Thank you all so much for being here for so long. Thank you all so much for the ones that were here for the beginning and the ones that are sticking around to the end. For the 26 people that are still here in the class, or still here in the stream, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. This was one of my absolute favorite streams really ever since I've started streaming. And I look forward to continuing to do it. We will hopefully be able to stream the first preseason game of Detroit Lions football. And with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.